What is good, rookies, and welcome to the round 16 trades. Last of the buy rounds. We've made it. We've kind of survived, kind of took hits, but we're getting into our final trades, essentially outside of the 3 to 5 trades you might have left, even under 3, to just get us through the rest of the season. We're going to do the usual. We're going to go through the injury list. We're going to look at what the community is doing. And then we're going to see what I plan to do for the next few weeks, what you could be looking at doing for certain players, and we'll go from there. So we're going to start again. Crouch, still out 4 weeks. This number just keeps escalating. But we can see that Pedlar has taken a forked quad. But so Peatling, you imagine, comes straight back in, maybe for Pedlar. So I'd probably, if we mostly jump off, if you didn't, probably be worried. Nothing too crazy at all for Brisbane, so that's fine. No, the only test is Wiedering here. He is expected to play, so we'll see what happens there. Outside of that, a little update is Walsh is still 3 to 4, so not any chances of him coming back anytime soon. For Collingwood, the only new one really is probably just McCreary, 3 to 4 weeks with a hammy. Not good at all. Was looking pretty deadly in the midfield there, I will say. Schultz is still 1 to 2 away. So for the easy matchup for West Coast this week, I still think a Josh Dacos and a Nick Dacos are perfectly fine. And of course a Darcy Cameron. For Essendon, and look at this list. Again, they're on their bye this week. So we imagine that we have Ridley, Reed, Redmond back, Langford comes back in. I don't think Al Hooley comes straight back into the team, not with Clark. I think Clark is much better at that wing role. So it'd be interesting to see what does happen to the ones such as Clark and Johnson after the bye. Do they both maintain their spots? Johnson's probably a little bit more concerning as he's more of the defensive line, which we have all the massive ins for, whereas Clark has that wing role. So I don't think there's real competition there for that one. So we'll see what happens there. For Freo, nothing too crazy at all. There has been good reports from Young in training and just progressing quite well. But again, I think he might be next year. So we hope he comes in, plays a few games, drops in price, and potentially becomes a nice target for next season, which some of us are probably already looking forward to. Geelong, what more should we say? Declining 3 to 4 weeks. Still nothing else too crazy here. Clark is in concussion protocols as well. But we could see, some potentially young runks like Mitch Edwards, who's now come back through the VFL, so he might get a run towards the end of the season. But again, Bose is putting his name up to still be best 22. Nothing too crazy. For Gold Coast, nothing notable, so we're just going to move on. For Giants, so this was updated. Yep, this was updated today. So Daniels is still TBC, so that's not a good thing. Briggs and Cogs is still are a test, so we imagine Madden possibly gets dropped. The major one here that we're all looking for is Whitfield, who's going to be under concussion protocol for 1 to 2 weeks. There has been confirmation that if the concussion protocol ends on day 12 and they play on day 12, they are cleared to play legally. So let's just hope everything bounces back there. Please, Whitfield, don't burn us. Again, nothing too crazy. Both Sicily and Warple are a test as well. So we'll see how that works out. Melbourne, Aiden Johnson has done an ankle. This is the first I'm seeing it. I thought he was coming back. Now he's gone. Damn. He was my cover for this week. All right, guess I don't have cover on the bench. That's fine. We'll fix that. Anyway, that just made me quite sad. Darling is a test, which is fine. Nothing else too crazy there. We've got Wines, knee TBC, so we'll see what happens there in regards to that midfield mix. Richmond, Lalore is a test, which is nice. Short, they say 1 week, but who really knows at this point? He keeps getting pushed back. Armstrong 1 week, but I probably wouldn't bank on it. And our infamous boy Gray is still 2 to 4, so no idea what to expect there. But the main one for those that did jump on, who may not have jumped off yet, McCall of 3 to 4 weeks. So yeah, definitely a trade out, definitely. Philippou. It's not happening this year. I don't think so. I just don't think it's happening. For Sydney, though, this list has cleaned up a lot, which is awesome. The only notable one that is relevant is Patton, who's got a concussion, but I don't imagine a world where he, is able to come back into the team. But Cleary had a massive game, so that's always fun. Not that we all have him. So West Coast and Bulldogs being the last two teams. So with these guys, again, there's nothing too crazy. Both Cole and Edwards are a test, so I don't even think that Bo Allen, Clay Hall, Gross, they never got good runs at it. We imagine McCarthy maintains his spot, hopefully. So we'll see what happens there. For Bulldogs, Law, again, just can't get it together. Made a paper. So not good. Outside of that, though, a few to come back through tests, but I don't think they're really relevant for us. So that's the injury list. Nothing too relevant. Again, as we go through less trades, you can see we only have 4 available. We're not going to pay attention to the injury list too much. So we'll see what happens. Chill, dog. This dog, my man, he is a menace. So let's have a look to see what people are doing this week for their trades. For all coaches, people are trading out of buy plays more than likely. Clark and Johnson, don't mind this. I would wait until team sheets unless you desperately need the cover. Neil, it's completely understandable. Just can't string together good games. Like, 89, 92, 103, 72. Has got the ceiling there in those games, but could he cop attention for Port? Like, the run isn't that nice, but it's okay. Like, it's not the worst case. If you've got the luxury trades to do it, by all means. Whitfield, I imagine this is just a reason to drop him, but I will be holding him. Like, he's got a nice run for halfbacks, so I'm pretty confident he'll come back for the West Coast matchup. Hustwaite again makes total sense. Erasmus, yeah, it's not looking like he's the guy that we thought he was. Just still a rookie, so definitely jump off unless you need his cover. Kako, again, any time's a good time to trade out Kako. Gray makes sense. Pedler makes sense, and Bolton. A lot of people are feeling like they might be stuck with him, or he's the only trade out they have that has some value of like 450. Yeah, just can't get it done. It's Bolton. We thought we had a different Bolton than we had at Tigers. Turns out we don't. So a little bit unlucky there, but hopefully he got out at a decent price before he started bleeding some cash. So just one of those ones that just didn't work out. For the top 1%, though, nothing too different outside of more people are trading out of Bolton in the top 1%, and Carroll as well. So a lot of top 1% aren't looking to trade out Whitfield as much as the norm, which I agree with. But more people are trading out of a Bolton just because it's not what they wanted. So makes complete sense. No issues there. Now, trading in is going to be interesting. Obviously, McCarthy is probably like the number one downgrade if you need one for decent cover. Again, that role just looks so juicy. Liddy also looks good. Not too bad. You imagine he maintains a spot. I've seen really good things from him. Again, not blowing things out of the water, don't get me wrong, but good enough to, I think, stay in the team. So if you need cover and you need a downgrade option, don't mind this at all. I'm fairly sure some of us already jumped onto McCarthy, or most did, but then we still got a lot of people trading into him. So not too bad at all. My apologies. This dog is an absolute menace. Darcy and Mills, obviously being the main value options this week. Darcy, we just kind of expected this with the Richmond matchup, just absolutely dominated. Mills probably did a lot better than what most of us expected. We're still putting them on probably a 105 average, but we're always going to take a 120. So I think he's still a perfectly fine trade-in. Go for your life. Good cover, really cheap, awesome stuff. Bont, for those that just want to get Bont, probably at his bonded out price. I'm not sure what happens this week in regards to like tag or attention. Does Rowbottom go to him because he can rest forward? Whereas maybe a Richards or a Dale might get some attention from Jordan. It'd be interesting to kind of get a bit of a telegraph tag to see where the attention will flow. I wouldn't be surprised to see Richards or Dale cop some attention from Jordan. So we'll see what happens there. But Bontempelli, you can't go wrong with this trade-in. If you got a sideways someone like a Dunkley or Neil, you grab him Bont. 100%. 100%. Butler is also a decent downgrade target. Obviously not the most cost friendly, being a 126. But we imagine he looks pretty good. Like they've got some pretty good wraps on him. Looks like good cover. I don't mind going there at all. Archer May as a trade-in's fine. Again, with a Langford back though, I'm not sure what happens as his job security. So I'd probably want to wait until after the bye to jump on him. But by all means, go for it. McRae, Naz, and Dacos. I mean, I'd rather both Naz and Dacos. McRae, I still think while he had a great game, we know he can do this sort of thing. Don't get us wrong. He can do this sort of thing, but he also can do this with the 70s and the 80s. Again, maybe I'm being picky. Maybe I've got something against McRae, but I wouldn't be surprised to see him drop an 80, a few 80 games. And when I say a few, I mean half of these games under a ton or even under 95. Would not be surprised at all. We'll see what happens there. For the top 1% on trade-ins, Liddy, because most already jump on McCarthy. Darcy, makes sense. Mills, yep. Bont, McRae, Butler. Again, May, I'm not entirely sure on. 20 man, and Bo Allen as well as a nice cheaper option in the back line that also has DPP. Whether he maintains a spot, you'd hope so at this point. Like he's had sub-affected games and been dropped as well. He's got a bit to repay us for that shocking score at the start in the preseason. However, I actually don't mind this trade-in at all. I think it's a cost-effective trade-in for someone that probably has decent job security. So don't mind it at all. Let's have a look at some other things that are happening. We're probably just going to go straight into the middle and go top 5%. So with the top 5%, we're just going to look at, I don't even know if this is loaded properly. Love that. Okay. Don't know what happened there. Any other interesting ones here? Jackson, absolutely paying overs, but why wouldn't you go there? I mean, I don't know if you're really breaking the bank, but if he's your final upgrade, sure, go for your life. Mort Francis, again, I don't mind at all. The shoulder injury, the mid-time, I don't know if they're slowly warming him up. I'm not too hot on him. I think there's other good options that you can probably go to. But again, at this point, you're probably just wanting to finish your team. Bo Allen, Anderson, don't mind at all. Again, just some pretty much open up cash with these rookies. Tom Green also looks really, really good. Don't mind him as a trade-in option either. Heaney also very solid. I really can't argue. I'd probably not be trading in Romo. Ryan as well. If this is Piggy, if this Seagull is absolutely back, I actually don't mind it because this run since round 8 has been very, very nice. And he's a 535. He was very, very cheap. So if you jumped on him when he was very cheap, you're absolutely fucking laughing. Jumping on buy plays, though, not too sure. Yeah. Miller, I don't mind. Hewitt, still very solid pod. Richards, the best pod of them all. I was expecting a little bit of a bigger game from him. Still gave us a 120, but I guess he had to, try to take points off Mr. Bontempelli. But look at this run. Like, how good of a pick has Richards been? Honestly. Moore also a cheap option as well. Again, are we jumping on him after the 166 because of all the tackles? Like, I'm afraid we might just get burnt if you jump there. Humphrey, probably want to go there. What about trade outs? Any weird trade outs? As I said, you could probably wait on Clark and Johnson, but they've obviously got a bit of cash on them. So if you need to open up cash and go down to a 99k rookie, by all means go for it to get, to that final upgrade. Totally makes sense. Any other weird ones here? Merritt, again, just Mr. Fix-It. Just there's no strict role where it's actually performing, but he's very cheap at 500. You'd imagine that hopefully at some point, they turn it around. So he could be under 500k, which would be nice. But again, just too late in the season. Dawson, been very, very solid. We expect him to probably pop off a little bit this week against Richmond, as we saw with Bont. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. Brayshaw, you'd hold. Roberts, in regards to like braid outs, I don't mind trading out Roberts. Again, that wing roll is probably going to be very hot and cold, but some of us might be stuck with him. Me? Braken makes sense. Don't know if it's worth a trade. McAuliffe, obviously worth a trade. Any of your primos that, aren't like Lockie Neal or Whitfield or a Rankin, I'd probably hold on to them. I don't think I'd be trading out primos at this point. Cashing in, a Sheldrick can go either way. Sheldrick has been doing a very good job at just being our either loop at M8, M9, or a flex player just to cover bases. So he definitely looks like he's in a good role, especially, with the whole squad back now. And that was probably the only concern. So I don't see a need to trade out Sheldrick. Save the trade, put him at your flex. I think you're fine. I think you'll be very, very fine. Any other ones? Yeah, Vicentini, time to go. Levi Ashcroft, time to go. Like, he tonned up. Like, he did amazing. But he's just on his bye. I think it's perfect time to just catch you later. That's probably about it in regards to, main targets. But yeah, if unless you have an absolutely stacked team in round 16 for those that are on buys, as in, round 16 buy players, you probably would want to limit your sideways. Again, Smith, you're not trading out of. He's clearly F1. Dunkley, I don't mind trading out of. It's very up and down, and it's just so hard to predict where the scoring's going to go with this Brisbane midfield. Like, this is literally like 110, 95, 72, 120, 76, 120. Like, it's just very up and down. And we like Dunkley because we will get, hopefully, going to get something more consistent. Now, you could argue that maybe he was consistent, and this is just that anomaly game where Payne went down. It just is what it is. I don't feel a need to trade out of him. I don't really feel a need to trade out of Whitfield either. I do want him, so I think I might just cop, this week, and just kind of run with it. I think Clark and Johnson we can worry about next week. My trades for this week for my team really it's it. I'm not doing anything. The only trades I will want to facilitate in next week, which is most likely, depending on who's available, moving Clark and Johnson on for, a rookie and Green, Toby Green. I think he's going to finish this team because we can essentially just move our players around with DPP to get him on field and get McCarthy as bench cover. So I think we might do that. Nothing too crazy for our team. Again, it is going to be a rough week. I'm already predicting it. So it is what it is. Look, if you got this far in the video already, we're almost 20 minutes in, a little bit quicker because we don't have to go through our trade scenarios because we're not doing any. But make sure you like the video if you're already here. In regards to trade count, now I have 4 for the rest of the season now. With the flex cover, what is like the optimal amount of trades you want to have left for injuries? Now, we've obviously had like a big spike of like injuries, I believe, more than maybe we expected through the main year. Do we think we've now got a smoother end to the year? I want to hope so, just because I don't want to burn trades. Because when I do my trade next week, I'll be down to 2. It's, not great, not ideal. But I just need to do that because I'd rather be able to loop McCarthy. I mean, look, we could play this week. McCarthy could have a juicy role, and I don't have to make any trades. And then if anything, I just have Green and whoever rotating for F6 just to make it a little bit better. But again, I think anywhere from 3 to 5 trades for the rest of the season are perfectly fine. Obviously, the more the merrier, but you may have more value in actually using them to actually get a primo that you want in. We can see that like we don't have like Butters or a Bont or a Naz. We've got Green and we've got Dacos, but we've got Richards and Sinclair. Like we got maybe the more of the defensive line for the top liners, not necessarily the midfield though. So it is interesting when we look at it that way. But we just had to do what we had to do to get our team together. So 3 to 5 trades, I think is perfectly fine. Going to 2, if it gets you your big boys like a Butters and Bont, I don't hate, but you're just kind of putting your faith in a bit of hope that there's no major injuries. Yeah, I'd be really curious. I do want to know what you guys are doing this week. How many trades do you have left? What are you doing this week to kind of fix your team, finalize your team? I want to hear about it. Talk about it in the comments below. Tell me what you're thinking. I know a lot of people are all about thinking about finishing their team, holding off because maybe they want to pick up a round 16 player. There's so many different ways you can look at finishing the season. And we are getting to that time where it is sitting back, watching, and potentially crying about how our teams are performing. Sinclair, I'm looking at you. It's a step up. Don't know what Ross is doing. But we're going to move into VCs and Cs for this week. So Thursday night, we have Port versus Carlton. Does Hewitt give attention to Butters? Does Chincotta, give any attention to a Rosie? Most likely. I don't mind. Rosie's not too bad, but we can imagine Chincotta's been giving attention. He went to Daniel, for God's sakes. He's probably going to go to Rosie. So that might mean that Hewitt does give attention to Butters, but I think Butters has an ability to break out of tags just because he's just that rough nut that will do it. So I think Butters is a fine VC option. For Carlton, I love a Hewitt VC. If TDK is named solo without Pitto, I do like a VC on TDK. However, I'm very scared. There is all chances that if Pitto is named, I move TDK to Bond and call it a day. And that's my team. There's all chances that happens. So we'll see what happens there. But I think Hewitt or TDK is a perfect VC option. Again, TDK very much on the fact if named solo. For Friday, again, we were discussing who might cop attention from the taggers of Rowbottom and Jordan. I do really think that Rowbottom's more inclined to run with Bond, but again, very hard to run with Bond. I don't think he's a windy type of tagger. So I think Bond is still a very fine VC choice. I think Richards is also fine. For Sydney, I do like Heaney or Grundy here. Heaney or Grundy, I think, are perfectly good options. Look, maybe even a Mills if you want to be different, just because of that back line, and it's Bulldogs and they're a ripper form. So you never know. But Heaney or Grundy, if you've got them, don't mind them at all. For Saturday, Suns versus Melbourne. Really interesting. Obviously, Gawn's probably not an option coming up against Wits. But for Suns, do they send Langdon to Noah? Does Rao become an option for a VC? I'm really not sure. Track could be one that you might consider as a VC if you wanted to go there, but I don't expect a spike score here. I don't mind a Rao. I think a Langdon's more inclined to go with an Anderson, so I don't think Rao's a horrible choice here. We know what he can do. So if you have Rao and you want to be very, very different, I don't mind the VC there. I get Gawn. I just don't feel like that's a good option here this week. And no one really put their hands up for a VC from Melbourne. Like Track can drop it. Just how it is. So outside of Gawn, there's no real VC targets for Melbourne. And Gawn has one of the tougher opponents this week. So we'll move on from that. Hawks and North. I don't mind a Sherry here. I am a bit worried that Sherry's maybe a bit sore or a bit exhausted. But again, against Meek, though, he's done pretty well previously. Like a 123 or 144. I think Sherry, if you want to stick with the combos of rucks, is a fine captain or VC. I think last week was just a dual ruck domination, and there's only so much you can do about that. So Sherry's perfectly fine. In regards to Hawks, I really don't recommend VCing anyone. just don't do it. The main game, which we can start talking about captains in, is Nick Dacos against West Coast. If he is not your VC or captain, you must not have him. It's that simple. He's going to be our captain for this week. And I am very much considering VCing Richards or TDK, depending on if named solo. So my captain for this week will be Dacos against West Coast. We imagine he's just going to go nuts. Likewise, if you wanted to VC him and maybe go into a Dawson, I don't mind this either. I think Dawson's a perfectly fine captaincy option against Richmond. Freo and Saints, though, not too sure on how to read this one. Windy could go to Sarong or Brayshaw. I really don't know who he would prefer to tag. Sarong obviously had a massive week last week, so you would think that Windy might sit on Sarong, but it can pivot. So I'd probably be more inclined to go Brayshaw, just considering that Sarong's probably had more impact of late in contested possessions, clearances, so on, and they probably want to try and negate that. And they'll probably just want to try and do what they did to Bond. Let's be honest. So Winnie's going for names. He's taking names. He wants to add Sarong to that list like he did Bond. So with that said, maybe a Sinclair if you want to trust it. I think Naz is a very safe captaincy option. But again, with games like Collingwood versus West Coast and Adelaide versus Richmond, if you have any of these players, this is pretty much where you're looking as probably the easier matchups. So I'm actually not looking at rucks, more importantly. So I'm probably going to VC Richards into Dacos. I just like the midfield matchups more. Richards could get tagged, but I think with all the attention of, Bont being so good, it does open up Richards to have more of a spike game. So betting on that, he hasn't let us down too much. So I'm putting my faith in the ginger man, Mr. Richards. So that's the VC and C for this week. Again, let me know what you guys are doing for your captaincies this week. Very curious to see on where everyone falls in line. You go on the ruck setup, doing a Dacos, a Bont, a Butters, so on and so forth. Very good. That will conclude the Supercoach segment for our trade talk. We're going to jump into Game Day Squad. Now, have word that we may be getting packs for a little giveaway again, or at least I'll make it happen. So make sure you follow me on Rookie Coach AFL at X/Twitter. They'll be given away over there before lockout. So just let me know, go follow, keep your eyes peeled. There'll be a post that will go up for some goodies. We'll see what we can get for you guys because it is coming into a really important time for the Contender League, which we have going. So when we look at competitions, we've got our Contender League here. We're currently sitting 144 for that round, but for the season, we're sitting 73rd. So not as bad as what I thought it would be, but we're still very far from the top. But yeah, make sure you follow me on X for some goodies. For our Contender team leading into this week, because all our main players that we want are on the bye, we don't have the best available options, so we might have to do some work on the trade block. I think Sinclair will have a nice bounce back game. I do like Lockie. We can't even go Lockie Ash or Whitfield because they're on the bye. It's really, really interesting because we don't have our main players. Short's not in there. Stewart's not available. We might actually pick up a Bowie. Bowie's not too bad. I think I might trust Bowie more than Farrell, let's be honest. So let me chuck Bowie in there. Lob, just because he's silver. Dale, obviously. Mills looks decent. Blakey looks pretty good too. That's fine. For our midfield, I can't believe I have Newcomb sitting in there. But Ahini looks solid. Dawson, obviously, for the matchup. Steele has averaged more, but he's a gold, so we're going to throw him in there. We could throw George Stewart instead of a Newcomb, but Newcomb in Game Day Squad actually does pretty decently. So we might leave him in there, but we do have some options like Tuke Miller, who had a massive game. Laird isn't too bad either. We do have a Prestia, but I don't know why I accepted a Prestia trade, I'll be honest. I wanted to be different. But we've got a few options in our midfield that could go pretty well. Like a Power did well. LDU does okay. Doherty did very well. So we could potentially throw Doherty in there. But I'm pretty confident with this. The only person I might change out is Newcomb. Just because I don't want to see him in my team. But we're going to go Gorn and TDK. Could go English. Actually might throw in Sherry here. Even though he's a bronze, just because I do believe he's going to have a better matchup this week. So, again, this is the fun part of like having your rarity differences. That sometimes it might pay to have a bronze in there that has a better matchup than a gold or a silver that has a bad matchup. So something to keep in mind. For our forward line, again, we just don't have that many good options. Our Smith card is obviously not going to work this week because he's on the bye. Daniel just seems to be doing enough. Hogan could do okay. I mean, their matchup, he's on the bye anyway, so it doesn't matter. Bolton, still not good in Game Day Squad either. We just don't have a lot of good forward options, essentially. Like, from an average score point of view, it's just not where we're at. So I think we're just forced to kind of roll with this at the moment. Again, once the buys are over, though, we've got a pretty good side to throw in there with some silvers. It's going to be really interesting on how we can build this team out. But again, as I said, we're probably going to be looking at our trade block to see what we can do, see what cards we can trade up. So we've got like a Sinclair. But again, if you just come in here and go for trade, you can see what people are trading for, whether it be silvers, like trading down. Some people are trying to trade up. You kind of get the gist of how this all works. Like a gold Holmes. Like if I had any platinums, I'd be grabbing that for sure for next week. Like Oh, there's so many cards in here that I would love to pick up. Cardwell would be nice. But again, if you have these cards available, have a look. Because some people pick up bronze and silvers for golds and they can really make a difference. Like here's some silvers that people are looking for a gold TDK. Could be one to look at if you have these guys. We also have some players that we could trade. Like our trade block, we've still got Amira. No one wants him. I don't know why. I know why. It's Amira. But we might put some cards on the trade block. You know, I might put some golds up there that we don't want, like Ambrosio. He might be good to get rid of. There's a few here we can put on the trade block, which we might do during the week. So make sure you guys are utilizing the trade block, trying to best set up your contender squad for this round. And as mentioned, make sure you check me out on X and Twitter for any potential giveaways that will happen this week. That said, guys, if you made it this far, 1, I love you. 2, appreciate all the support. Again, you guys have been absolutely amazing this season. I know we're getting to the point of the season just where, if your team's not doing well, you're probably less interested. But if you're still hanging around and your rank is tanking, I love you even more. You are so good, and I appreciate all the support, all the time watched. And honestly, if you have to do one thing for me, just make sure you come hang out at After Dark. It's the one thing I absolutely look forward to doing every weekend with Brad and Ghosty. Been an absolute ball this season and is something I can't wait to continue and build on. So you guys are awesome, and I'll see you in the next one.